In the first video in lesson 2 on units of measure, we're going to focus on some basic unit conversions, specifically how we can use a unit converter calculator from the internet to help us solve these types of problems. There are apps you can download from your phone. You can simply Google it. But when it comes to our Respondus test on our midterm, I am going to provide you with the link for this unit converter website. It's really good. It has all the ones you could possibly need, and it's pretty easy to use. So I would recommend practicing with that just so you can get used to using it. So we're going to go over how to use the calculator, where to find things on it. We'll also talk briefly about how to solve some of these without the calculator, because those conversions will come in and we'll sort of have to do some of them by hand later. But we want to get over the basic conversions, because then we're going to take our sort of ability to convert between measures to actually solve problems. So the link you should see in the Nearpod presentation, I also posted a link in Canvas to unitconverters.net. And you'll notice this is pretty straightforward and easy to use. You'll see the sort of types of measurement, and that's really the big decision you have to make. You have to decide what type of measure the thing you're trying to solve is asking for. So in the very first problem, and you could follow along on if you downloaded the note sheet, we're working through problem 2. And so the first problem asks us to convert 5 kilometers to miles. Well, kilometers and miles are length measurements, so we're right on the correct tab, length. And so whatever value you're starting with, that's what you're going to be putting in the first box. So we were given 5 kilometers. So I'm going to type in 5, and I'm going to change meters to kilometers. And then we don't want to convert it to kilometers. We want to convert it to miles. And so, ta-da, 5 kilometers is equal to 3.1068 miles. The next problem asked us to go from 30 liters to quarts. Well, liters and quarts are actually a volume measure. So we're going to move over to the volume tab here. And we need to, again, just like last time, put in the value we're starting with and then put in the unit we're trying to find. So we want to go from 30 liters, and then we want to turn it into quarts. Now, you'll notice when you look at some of these, you'll see, okay, oh, there's a US quart and then there's an imperial quart. If the problem just says quarts, we're in the US, so we're going to assume we're talking about US quarts. And you'll notice that a liter and a quart are pretty close. A quart is, so 30 liters would be equivalent to 31.7 quarts. And that would be an example of sort of a volume conversion. The next conversion on our handout is looking at weight. We're going pounds to kilograms. And so right over to the next tab, I need a weight measure. So we're going to be converting 24 pounds. So I need to go find a pound into not grams, but kilograms. And so 24 pounds is approximately 10.886 kilograms. And this site is just really helpful. It allows me to sort of quickly go from one unit to the other. The trick is really just being able to know, okay, the units of measure I was given, are they a length? Are they a temperature? Are they an area, volume, time? And we're going to be talking more and more throughout this lesson about units and what are they measuring. And so hopefully by the end, that won't be the dilemma that you're debating. Now we're going to click back to the questions. And so we answer those first 3 because with time, I'm actually not going to use the calculator. Now you can, I'm sure some of you noticed that, yes, there was a time tab. But with time, often we're going to be converting when we're dealing with rates, which was in an upcoming video. And you'll find that often we want to do those conversions by hand anyways. And they're typically ones that we know. So here we're going from minutes to seconds. And I know that 1 minute equals 60 seconds. And Hopefully that's generally a relationship that we're all familiar with. Well, here we're told we have 23 minutes. So in each one of those 23 minutes, 60 seconds go by. So I'm going to take that 23 minutes and multiply it by 60 seconds, because within each of those ones, we have 60. Now, some people might set up what is known as dimensional analysis to tackle problems like that. And what you'd see then is you'd have the seconds here, which would be equivalent to 1 minute. And you'll notice the minutes sort of cancel out. And I'm left with 23 times 60, which is 1,380 seconds. And the reason that works is because for each 1 minute in those 23, 60 seconds go by. This thinking then lets us go even sort of further jumps. So if we want to go from hours to seconds, we're going to keep that 1 minute to 60 seconds in mind, but we're also going to keep in mind that 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. And so if I'm sort of working my way through this, I'm starting with the 7.1 hours. And then in each of those hours, there are 60 minutes. So 7.1 times 60 would get me the number of minutes in 7.1 hours. If I then multiplied those minutes, so right here, this would be the number of minutes in 7.1 hours. And then if I multiplied by 60 again, I would end up with the number of seconds in those, because there are 60 seconds in each of those minutes. And it ends up being 25,560 seconds. Again, if I think about sort of that unit relationship, I'm starting with hours. I then am saying, okay, how many minutes are in 1 hour? How many seconds are in 1 minute? And you sort of get that, not canceling out the seconds, obviously. That's what we're trying to get at. And we're left with seconds. But we can also think about it as a multiplicative relationship too. So can use the unit conversion calculator, can also just sort of use a little bit of reasoning with that 60. Now, temperature conversion is similar. There are some formulas, and if you're really good with formulas, you may want to choose to use these formulas. And I put a copy of them right here to the side, and I'm going to show you what they mean. But temperature is also one of the ones where I personally would probably use the conversion calculator, but the choice is really up to you and where your comfort is. So this first one, we're going to try and go from degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius. So Fahrenheit to Celsius, here's my formula down here. And so the relationship is 5/9 times the number of degrees minus 32. And it's 32 because of that freezing temperature relationship. And if I went through and did the calculations here, I would wind up with 10 degrees Celsius. So 50 degrees Fahrenheit is equal to 10 degrees Celsius. Now, if I want to go the other direction, so on this next problem, I'm going from Celsius back to Fahrenheit. That's going to be this top equation here. And so this time I'm doing 9/5 times the number of degrees Celsius, which is 80 in this case. And then I'm going to add 32 to that. And I would end up with 176 degrees Celsius. Oh, not Celsius, Fahrenheit. Which way am I going? It helps if you remember. Obviously not the same as 80 degrees Fahrenheit. Very different temperature, much, much warmer. Now, let's say you're like, I'm not a formula person. So let's just see where the temperature is in the unit calculator, because maybe that's the place you want to go instead. And so if we go back to that really quick, you will notice there is a temperature button. And so I can even type in negative. So I want to go from negative 30 degrees. And I don't want Kelvin, I want Fahrenheit. And you'll see it pops up, negative 22 degrees Fahrenheit. Exactly the conversion we're looking for. And then I don't have to use the formula or worry about it. I don't want you to get tripped up on saying, I have to get something from Celsius to Fahrenheit. I don't remember the formula, and I need that temperature to answer something else. The unit conversion part of the problem should be the part we do without thinking. And that way we can save our hard thinking parts for the more complicated parts of the math problems, which we're going to be approaching in some of our future videos.